everybody, this is Amanda with Stained Glass Crochet. Today we are doing a new tutorial. Today's tutorial is for people who are brand new to crochet. These will be the very basic stitches that most other stitches are made up of, things like single crochet, double crochet, those kinds of things. This will be part of a big long series of stitch tutorials, and there will be a few project tutorials coming soon. So grab your hook and your yarn and let's get started. Okay everyone, so here I have my pile of yarn, my 3 little skeins of yarn in different weights, and I have my 2 different crochet hooks. You are only going to need 1 hook and 1 thing of yarn to get started, but I wanted to show you what the stitches would look like at different weights with different size hooks. So first I'm going to start off with a normal worsted weight yarn. I'm using I Love This Yarn, is a regular focus. It'll focus when it wants to. Alright, so this is a 4-weight yarn. A regular worsted weight you can get at any craft store. You probably, if you want to get into crocheting, a 4-weight is your best bet on getting started. There, you can get it very cheaply at different places. Walmart, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Joann's. It's the most common size yarn that you're going to find. So first what we're going to do is we're going to start from the very beginning. So first you're going to need a crochet hook. This lovely hook right here. You do not need a fancy hook like this. But this one I got from my friend Andrea over at Wickedly Handmade. Her husband hand carved this. It is so nice. So I wanted to show it off a little bit on camera so you guys could see. You do not need a fancy hook like this to get started. You can get the ones that are like $3 or $4 at Walmart and get started, and they will work just as well. Really, you really can. The ones I tend to use the most are ones like this that have the soft, I guess you could say rubberized handle. They make it much easier to crochet for long periods of time without hurting your hands or your wrists. This particular hook is a clover hook. They're expensive. I did not pay full price for them. I found them when they were on sale on Amazon, and I got them as an early Christmas present for me. You can find whole sets of ones that look almost identical to this on Amazon for like $10 or $15. I had a set of those for probably 4 or 5 years. And they work almost as well as the clovers. They really, you do not need to break the bank in order to get a good set of crochet hooks. But you're going to need a crochet hook. If you're using a regular worsted weight yarn like I Love This Yarn, you're going to need, and you can see here on the label where it shows you, whoop, right here, except it doesn't want to focus. So for this particular yarn, it says you will need a 5.5mm hook. My lovely hook right here is a 6mm hook. That would be a J hook. You can use that perfectly well with any worsted weight yarn and it will come out just fine. So first stitch you're going to want to learn is how to chain. In order to start pretty much any project, you're going to need to know how to chain. So first we're going to learn how to make a slip stitch. Now here is how I learned how to make it. I learned it from Mikey at the Crochet Crowd. So you take the end of your yarn, the cut off end right here, and this side here goes to your skein of yarn. You take the end, out of frame. Take your end here. You're going to wrap it around your 2 fingers, like so. Then you take this one right here, push it off, and then take this one and push it off again. And now you have this loop right here. You take your hook, insert it there, hold on to the 2 ends down here, and pull, and pull. And now you have a slip stitch on your hook. Okay, now How you hold your hook and how you hold your yarn is completely up to you. There's usually two camps that people tend to fall into. You either hold your hook like a pencil, like this. This is not how I hold my hook, but it does not matter. However is comfortable for you. You could a lot of people will hold their hook like a pencil or hold their hook like this, like it's called like a knife. Um, so pencil hold or knife hold, it does not matter. Play around with it. Find whatever feels comfortable for you. I hold mine like this, right? Then you're going to need to figure out how to hold your yarn. Usually people will want to wrap it in some fashion around one or more of their fingers to keep more even tension on your yarn. I prefer to wrap mine around my index finger, right? And that is, whoop, yeah, like this around my finger. And it just keeps a little more even tension. So now we have enough waffling on. So now we have our slip knot on our hook. We have our yarn wrapped around our finger, and we can get started with chaining. Right? So you're going to take your yarn, wrap it around your hook, grab it with the hook, and pull it through. And you've just made your first chain. So let's chain to 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now you can see you have made 10 chains. Now, most projects will have you chain more than 10. There are plenty of ways to keep track of your stitch count if you're like me and your brain just goes, ooh, shiny. And you can't focus long enough to count to high numbers. I will do a separate tutorial on tips and tricks for doing that later. But this is how you chain. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to pause this and chain 10 in the other yarns so that you can see how different they look. Okay, so now I have my 3 different chains. All 3 of these, 1, 2, 3, all 3 of them are chain 10s. Now you can see the different weights of yarn make a huge difference, and the size hook you use makes a huge difference in how long your chain will actually be once you're done. So this we saw was with a J hook that we used a worsted weight yarn with, and this is a 3-weight yarn, so like a baby yarn, right, with a 4mm hook, and this one is a 2-weight yarn with a 4mm hook, and they are not the same at all. They are quite small, quite a bit smaller. So when you're doing your projects, you want to keep in mind what project you're doing, what you're going for. So some things will be better to use the thinner yarn, like if you're wanting a very lacy shawl or something along those lines. Whereas if you're trying to do amigurumi, you might want to go with the bigger yarn. Okay, so the next stitch that we're going to do is called single crochet. This is one of the most common stitches that you're going to use. Thankfully, it's also one of the simplest stitches to do. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to make a slip stitch like we did before. Over, over, through, pull. Awesome. Okay, so now just for practice, we're going to chain 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so we can see we have our chain 10. Now, we always are going to skip this loop here that's on our hook. This loop here does not count ever. Right? We're also going to skip this chain here. So we can see a little bit better. Right? This chain right here, we're going to skip. It allows the chain to kind of fold up and be a little bit nicer on the end. Right? So we're going to go into this chain right here. This second chain. Right? Now, you'll see on each chain, if my camera will focus, that there are 3 different parts to a chain. You have the loop that's closest to you, the loop that's furthest away from you, and then the loop that's in the middle. Now, if we're going into the foundation chain, like we're doing right now, we want to go into that bumpy bit, the bumpy part in the middle. So we're going to take our hook, kind of poke it underneath of the part in the middle. We're going to wrap our yarn around our hook, pull it through. We're going to wrap the yarn around our hook again and pull through both loops. Now you can see this has made our first single crochet, and since we skipped the first chain, right, it let it just curl right on up next to our single crochet like they're buddies, right? So now we're going to do that again. So we're going to go underneath. Doesn't want to focus. Okay, so we're going to go underneath the little bumpy part, wrap the yarn, pull it through, wrap the yarn again, and pull through both loops. And now we have our second single crochet, right? And again, under, grab our yarn, pull it up, wrap the yarn, pull through both loops. Right? Now, if you'll probably notice that I tend to kind of tug on the yarn a little bit with this hand while I'm working and finishing a stitch. That's kind of a habit that I do. It helps me to keep more even tension. Honestly, it's muscle memory at this point, so half the time I don't even realize I'm doing it. But if you want to do that, you're going to have to practice and remember to do it, because I had to do that in order to start it first. Okay, so we're going to keep single crocheting all the way to the end, and then I will show you how to start our next row. So under, grab the yarn, wrap it, and pull it through. Whoop, not even in focus. Woo, right? Under, pull it through, wrap the yarn, pull through both loops. Okay. Under. Sometimes it's a little snug, right? Pull through, wrap it, pull through both loops. Under, pull through, wrap it, both loops. Under, pull through, wrap it, both loops. Under, pull through, wrap it, and both loops. So now you can see that we have our little strand of 10 single crochets, or 9 single crochets, I'm sorry. When you skip the first chain, you're going to end up with one less stitch. So to combat that, you would just add one extra chain. So we have 9 single crochets. Now, this is all great, but how do we go on to the next row, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap our yarn, and we're going to chain 1. Chain 1, right? Now we're going to flip our work around. We're going to turn it. Now, you can see this is the back of it, right? This looks a little funny. right? This is just as easy to work in. So we're going to take this when we're going into the actual, whoop, let me grab some more yarn here. Right? So now we're going to work through the 2 loops at the top. So you can see each stitch has this V. Oop, can't see me. This V here. That is the top of a stitch. And we're going to take our hook and we're going to poke it underneath of those. Grab the yarn, pull it through, wrap it again, and through both loops. And now you can see we have another single crochet. So let's do that again. To make it easier, what I look for, instead of looking at the top every time for those 2 loops, you see this little divot right here. That is the spot where you want to go. So you want to stick your hook right there, boop, and push it through, and grab your yarn, pull it up, wrap it, and through both loops, right? Poke it through, grab your yarn, wrap it through both loops, poke, pull it through, wrap it through both loops, poke it, pull it through, wrap it, both loops, poke it, pull it up, wrap it, both loops, poke it, pull it up, wrap it, both loops, poke it, pull it through, wrap it, both loops. Now we're at the last one. This one can be a little tricky sometimes. You want to make sure that you always get your last stitch. So you're going to go underneath like this, pull your yarn through, wrap it, and through both loops. You want to make sure that you do that every time or you're going to have wobbly edges. So you see this has a nice straight edge, right? So if you do that, you will always have straight edges, right? Now, to get back to the other side, we're going to chain 1, flip our work around again, and now we can just keep going like we did before. Poke it, grab it, wrap it, and through both loops, right? And you can do that all the way across. Whoop, whoop. Don't mind me making weird sound effects. Running out of yarn. Ooh, there we go. Sometimes your hook and your yarn just don't want to play together nice sometimes, right? So, whoop. And then we're back to this weird one again. Look for the little divot. Whoop. And pull it through. And through both loops. And now we have 3 rows of single crochet. Now, single crochet is one of the smallest stitches, so it's not going to work up very fast. But it will give you this nice, even, fairly dense fabric. Okay? Now, let's get ready and do our next stitch. Alright guys, so the next stitch we're going to learn how to do is called the half double crochet. Now this stitch is like about halfway between a single crochet and a double crochet. So let's get started. We're going to make a slip knot. So over, over, through, and pull. Right? And we're going to chain 12. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, actually 11. We're going to do 11. I'm sorry. All right, so 11. So remember, we want to skip the loop that's on our hook, and we're going to skip this first chain. So the difference between single crochet and half double is that you're going to wrap your yarn around your hook before you go into the chain. So now we're going to skip this first chain, and we're going to go into the middle bump of the second chain underneath. Grab your yarn, right? And now you see on your hook you have 1, 2, 3 loops. You're going to wrap your yarn, and you're going to go through all 3 loops. And now you have made a half double crochet. So we're going to do that again. We're going to wrap our hook, go under the middle part of the next chain, pull up a loop, wrap your yarn, and go through all 3 loops. Wrap the yarn around the hook. Whoop, whoop. See? All right, so this is what happens sometimes. Yarn can split. So you can see here that I didn't go underneath of the yarn all the way, so it went through the plies of the yarn. That is not what you want. So you're going to take your hook out, and we're going to do that again. So wrap your yarn around your hook. We're going to go under that back bump and make sure it goes underneath all of the parts of that strand of yarn. Right? Grab the yarn, pull up a loop, wrap your yarn again, and pull through all 3 loops. Right? Wrap your yarn, go under the loop, grab the yarn and pull up a loop, and pull through all 3 loops. Wrap, under, pull up a loop, and go through all 3 loops. Wrap, under, pull up a loop, wrap again, and through all 3 loops. Wrap, whoop, again, yarn split. So sometimes you can just kind of push that extra split back onto your hook and it's fine, right? And we're going to pull up a loop and go through all 3 loops. Under, wrap, through all 3, wrap. Ooh. This chain is just fighting me today. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes your chain's a little bit too tight and it just wants to fight you. And sometimes that's just the way it is. Now, under the loop, wrap it, go through all 3 loops. So now we have our 10 half double crochets. So now this is the exact same way that we're going to go up as we did before. So we're going to chain 1, we're going to turn. Now you're going to see this it looks like an extra loop, but that means you can see the holes where you need to go even easier, right? So we're going to wrap our yarn, and you see this hole that's right here, you can see right through it. Whoop. Right there. That's where we're going to go. Whoop. And we're going to grab our yarn, pull up a loop, and we're going to pull through all 3 loops. Wrap in the hole, pull up a loop, wrap through all 3 loops. Wrap, whoop, drop my hook. In here. Wrap in the hole, pull up a loop through all 3 loops. all 3, wrap through the hole, pull up a loop, wrap through all 3 loops, wrap in the hole, grab your yarn and pull up a loop, wrap again through all 3 loops, wrap through the hole, through all 3, in the hole, through all 3. Now, you're going to look at this and say, oh, well, I'm done, right? No, you have one more stitch down here. This one likes to be sneaky, so you got to make sure you get that last stitch. So right here is where you're going to go, right there. Boop. And you're going to grab your yarn, pull up a loop, and through all 3. Now, in order to get to the next one, make sure you count your stitches, though, just to make sure. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 10 stitches, just like we should, right? And then you would chain 1 and turn your work, right? And now we're back to this point again. So you would wrap, go into the hole right here, pull up a loop, wrap, and through all 3 loops, right? Wrap through all 3, wrap in the hole, whoop, through all 3, the hole, through all 3, wrap in the hole, grab the yarn and pull up a loop through all 3 loops. And guys, this is really just about practice. It takes time to get used to how to hold your hook. So it's comfortable. It takes time to get used to how to hold your yarn. Experiment, play around with it, and try different ways of doing it so you can really get a feel for what is the most comfortable for you. All right, and here's our tricky stitch again, right? Make sure you go under those 2 loops up at the top. Whoop, whoop. Like this, and boop. And now we have our 3 rows of half double crochet. Yay! All right, so we are moving right along. We have 1 more stitch to go, and let's get started. Alright guys, so our last stitch for this particular video is going to be double crochet. Now this one is a little bit more difficult. It's really not difficult. It's just a few more steps than single crochet or half double, right? So we're going to do our trusty slip knot. So over and over, in and pull. All right. We're going to chain 12 this time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, so we have our chain 12. So now we are going to, this is very similar to half double, except it has 1 extra step, right? So remember, the loop on our hook does not count. We're going to skip the first chain and the second chain this time, because a double crochet is taller than the single or the half double. So we're going to wrap our yarn like we did last time. We're going to go into the middle bump of the 3rd chain from the hook, like this. We're going to pull up a loop. We're going to wrap our yarn. Now, this is the part, if we were doing half double, we'd go through all 3. But since we're doing double crochet, we're going to pull through 2 loops, we're going to wrap our yarn again and go through 2 more loops. So now we've made our first double crochet. So now we're going to wrap our yarn, go in the middle bump of the next chain, whoop, pull up a loop, wrap our yarn, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, and pull through 2 more loops. So now we have 2 double crochets. So wrap our yarn. Ooh, that is a tight chain indeed. Ooh. And sometimes it's hard to get a nice loose chain if you're not being super careful about it. If you have tight tension like me, sometimes you have to go up a hook size to do your foundation chain just to make sure that you can get into those stitches, right? So we're going to wrap our yarn around, pull through 2 loops, wrap our yarn again, and pull through 2 loops, right? Wrap our yarn, go into the middle part of the chain, we're going to pull up a loop, wrap our yarn, go through 2 loops, wrap our yarn again, and go through 2 more loops. So wrap the yarn, go in the chain, wrap a yarn again, pull through 2 loops, and through 2 more, wrap our yarn and pull through 2 more loops. Alright, so wrap, in the chain, pull up a loop, wrap our yarn, pull through 2 loops, wrap our yarn again, and pull through 2 more loops. Under, pull up a loop, wrap, through 2 loops, wrap, and through 2 more loops. So wrap, go into the chain, grab the yarn and pull up a loop, wrap, pull through 2 loops, and pull through 2 loops. Wrap, go in the chain, pull up a loop, wrap again, pull through 2 loops, wrap again, and pull through 2 loops. So our last chain here, we're going to go wrap our yarn, and we're going to go into the chain, pull up a loop, wrap the yarn, pull through 2 loops, wrap the yarn again, and pull through 2 loops. So we have our little strand of a row of double crochet. So now, just like before, we're going to chain up and go to the next row. But this time, you're going to need to chain 1 and chain 2, because double crochets are taller, so you're going to need 2, right? So this right here, the chain up, does not count as a stitch. In some patterns it will count, and other patterns it won't, so you're going to have to pay attention to that. But in this particular instance, it does not count. So we're going to wrap our yarn. You can see the hole like we had from half doubles is there again, so we're going to go into that hole. We're going to wrap our yarn and go pull through 2 loops, wrap our yarn and go through 2 loops. Right? We're going to wrap our yarn, go through the next hole, pull up a loop, wrap our yarn, go through 2 loops, and go through 2 loops. Right. Through 2 loops, and 2 loops. Yarn, through the hole, pull up a loop, wrap, through 2 loops, and through 2 more loops. Right. Wrap, through the hole, pull up a loop, wrap, through 2 loops, wrap again, and through 2 more loops. Wrap through the hole. Whoop. Fell off, and that happens sometimes. So we're going to go through the hole again. Grab our yarn and pull it through. Right. Grab the yarn, pull through 2 loops. Grab the yarn and pull through 2 more loops. Two loops and 2 more loops. Right. Wrap. Go in the hole. Whoop. In the hole. Whoop. Through 2 loops and 2 loops. You know, I believe I just told you guys wrong. I am so sorry. Okay, so this is why you should write things down before you start talking. Anyway, so in this instance, the chain would count. As I got further along, I realized it would have made a bump out on your side and you wouldn't have a straight side. So we're going to leave this chain here. Okay, so you just saw me rip out a bunch of stitches. That's totally fine. We call that frogging. He goes, rip it, rip it. Right, okay. So sometimes you have to do that and it's perfectly fine. Right, so we have our chain 2 that we did at the beginning of the row. Right, I am so sorry. Right, so we're going to go into the next hole right here. Whoop. Chain, go through 2 loops and through 2 loops. So you can see how this is the same height as the other double crochet. Right, okay. Wrap and through the hole. Wrap again through 2 loops. Wrap again through 2 loops. Wrap in the hole, pull up a loop, wrap through 2 loops, and through 2 loops. Wrap in the hole, pull up a loop, go through 2 loops, through 2 more loops. Wrap in the hole, pull up a loop, wrap through 2 loops, wrap again through 2 more loops, wrap in the hole, pull up a loop, wrap through 2 loops, and through 2 more loops, wrap in the hole, through 2 loops, through 2 loops, right? Through the hole, wrap, through 2 loops, 2 loops, and we're at our last stitch here. So we're going to go right here. Ooh, and you couldn't see that. Let me fix that for you guys. Okay, so we're going to go in right here. So we have our 2 things on top. Grab the yarn, pull up a loop, wrap, go through 2 loops, and through 2 loops. Okay, so now you can see that you have straight edges. I'm sorry about that before. Sometimes it counts and sometimes it doesn't in different patterns. And if you're just doing straight double crochet like this, the chain 2 up at the edge does count. Right? So we're going to chain up 2, turn our work, right? Wrap, and remember we're going in the second hole. The chain 2 counts as our first double crochet. So we're going to go through 2 loops and through 2 more loops, and I need some more yarn. Doot, 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 doot. Right. So wrap in the hole, pull through, wrap in the hole, grab your yarn and pull up a loop, wrap, pull through 2 loops, wrap again, and pull through 2 loops. Wrap in the hole, grab your yarn, pull up a loop, wrap again, pull through 2 loops, wrap again, and pull through 2 loops. wrap, in the hole, pull up a loop, wrap, pull through 2 loops, and wrap and pull through 2 more loops. Wrap, pull up a loop, wrap, through 2 loops, wrap, and through 2 loops. Wrap, in the hole, wrap, whoop, there we go, through 2 loops, and through 2 loops, and wrap, and whoop, and whoop. Alright, so now we're at the end here where we just have our chain 2. Now this can get a little tricky. So we're going to wrap, we're going to go in like we were going into the back bump, the middle bump of the chain. So you're going to do like this into your chain so it has the 2 right here on top of your hook. You're going to grab your yarn, pull through and pull up a loop, wrap your yarn, pull through 2 loops, wrap again, pull through 2 loops. Right, so now we have our 3 rows of double crochet. Yay! Okay, so that is all for this tutorial today, friends. Next time we will go over some more stitches, right? And I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye!